Hello everyone, it's Jonathan here, founder of Driving Academy, and today we're going to be talking about how do you check the PSI in your truck. So if you're looking to get a CDL license, one of the terms that you're going to hear all the time is going to be PSI. So let's talk about what does that actually mean. PSI stands for pounds per square inch, and that usually has to deal with measuring air, your air pressure. So now you're going to think, well John, where do I have to measure air inside of a truck? Well, technically there's two places that use air inside of your tractor trailer. The most common place that you probably already understand is going to be inside your tires. The tires are these big black round things, of course, and you need to check the PSI whether you're driving a truck, a car, or anything like that. So in a tractor trailer, of course, it's going to be a lot heavier. These tractor trailers can weigh up to 80,000 pounds when they're fully loaded, which means these tires are not going to be your normal car tire type of situation. These tires are designed to carry this type of weight, which means you need a certain number of PSI inside of your tires to make sure that you're able to continue to keep these things going. So the range for PSI is going to be anywhere from 90 to 100 PSI. Now, how often should you actually check the tire pressure itself? You're going to be using a tire gauge. Most of the trucks do not have, like in your cars, that tell you what the tire pressure is, especially not for the trailer either, because there's no way to really connect them. But using a tire pressure gauge, which looks something like this, you're able to go down to each tire and actually check the tire pressure for each individual tire. The thing that you do have to understand is going to be on the back drive tires, which is going to be anything but the steering tires, and the trailer tires, you're going to have what they call dual tires, which means you have two sets of tires per axle, right? So you're going to have two sets of tires on the left, two sets of tires on the right, and you have to check both tire pressure, because what happens often is the tire on the outside that you can see might be good with proper air pressure. And that air pressure again is 90 to 100 psi. But sometimes the tire in the middle might be very low on air pressure. So what actually happens with the tire being super low, it's actually going to be deflated. When you put a lot of weight on it, more of the tire is actually going to be touching the ground itself. And then when you're driving and that tire is rotating, it's going to cause more friction. What happens with friction? Friction causes heat. What happens with heat and air makes it expand. The tire actually starts increasing its pressure to the point where the tire blows up, and then you have a big issue. So that's why tire pressure is super important, and you have to check the PSI. The other place that you have to check PSI when it comes to your truck is going to be your air brake system. So when it comes to the air brakes itself, it's super important. You're always checking the PSI. With this one, you don't need to physically check anything. It's going to be a gauge on your dashboard that looks just like this. So on that air pressure PSI gauge, you're going to want to make sure that it's working correctly. So when it comes to this PSI gauge, here's a few numbers that you have to understand. When your tanks are full, it should be around 120 PSI. Now, how do you fill up your tanks? Inside of your engine, you're going to have what's called an air compressor. The air compressor is on anytime the engine is on. So if the engine's on, the air compressor is moving, and the only job of the air compressor is to pump air into your air tanks. The gauge is going to read how much air pressure is actually inside of the tank itself, right? So as you're driving, the faster the engine goes, the faster the air compressor goes. Pretty simple. Now, when it comes to actually checking the air pressure gauge, why that's so important is the lower air pressure you have, the less braking power you have, or the less braking ability. Which means if you have no air, you cannot move the vehicle because the brakes are going to be locked in place. So that's one of the things that you're going to have to do for the road test, which is going to be perform an air brake test or a cab check engine start. This is where you're going to check for leaks in your air brake system. Now, so we talked about 120 PSI, making sure that that is around where you're going to have a full air tank. At around 60 PSI is when you're going to see a light and buzzer come on. Because like I said, you want to always be checking that gauge. If you are losing a lot of air pressure, the light and buzzer will come on saying, hey, you're losing a lot of air pressure, because that's going to warn you from, if it continues to drop between 20 and 40 PSI on the gauge, that's when the brakes will automatically pop out, and that's when all your brakes on your entire vehicle will start to lock up. And that's a scary thing. Imagine all of a sudden you're driving 60 miles down the road and you're not paying attention to your air gauge, or maybe you haven't done an air brake inspection check in the morning and your low air buzzer is not even working correctly. So you run right past through that. It goes between 40 and 20 because a line busted on you, and all of a sudden, pop, everything locks up and you're just skidding down the road. super scary. Hopefully you're wearing a seatbelt at that point, because if you're not, you're going right through the windshield and that won't be a pretty sight. So that's why air pressure is super important. So I hope that you definitely enjoyed this video. This was kind of more of a technical video itself. If you need any specific type of questions, make sure you ask them in the comments here. Our team is always looking through them and making sure that your questions are answered in the following videos. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you please do. And if you want to get more content like this, but in person, I invite you to come to the best truck driving school in the entire country. It's here at Driving Academy. We have a few locations open up now with plans to expand nationwide. The main headquarters is going to be Linden, New Jersey. That's our original location, and we can accept students no matter what state that you're coming in from. So if you are interested in getting started, you can give our team a call at 908-525-3609 or check out our website at cdldrivingacademy.com. Again, that's cdldrivingacademy.com. Thanks and have a great day. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure you hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel. It's really going to help us out. Click on that button. And if you want to continue yourself on your road to freedom, here's more videos to watch. There's endless amounts. And hopefully we get to see each other one day very soon. Thanks.